This is the Jazz Violin Podcast, episode 68, and today I'm answering your questions. If you haven't checked out the Jazz Violin Podcast before, it's worth it. If you're a jazz violinist and you have been playing for any amount of time, it's worth checking out all the interviews that I've done over the past 5-6 years. I've interviewed some of the most amazing jazz violinists on the planet about their process, how they got into it, and how they think. But having built up a little bit of a following for this podcast over the years, I often get questions about learning jazz. And a lot of the time I help people with that on my Patreon account. But I also thought it'd be nice to get that chance to give people advice on here too. I do give priority to my Patreon people, but it's always worth sending me an email with any questions you have in case I can fit them in too. The question that we're going to be answering today is about playing fast. I got asked this recently by one of my Patreon people, and it's something that comes up a lot. It's something that I think people struggle with, but I do think it's something that gets made a little bit too complicated. For me, it's not rocket science, but there are a couple of things that you need to think about when you're going to do it. For me, the thing to take note of is slurring. And more pointed, you need to slur more. So if you are finding it tough to play fast jazz, fast swing, slurs are probably going to be your answer. I'm not saying you got to slur every note, and I'm not saying that you got to slur all the time. But if you're finding it hard to play fast, it is usually the bow that's the problem, and it's usually slurring. So if you just play up, down, up, down, up, down all the time, détaché, I guess we call it, you're going to get tired, first of all. And as we get tired, we often start to seize up as well. You're getting tired, you're thinking, okay, I'm getting tired, I can't play this anymore, I'm not doing very well, and then you start to tense up, and being tense is the worst thing. So we really want to try and stay away from being tense, and the best way to do that is to slur as much as possible. We should be really not worrying too much about making all of the notes as clearly as we would do if we were playing slow. I'm going to give you a good example here. Here's a line played slow and then played fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty cheesy, but let's have a little listen to me playing it faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I played that the same twice. What I know that I did do, though, is I slurred much more in that fast version, making sure that I am as relaxed as possible in both versions. You want to be relaxed when you play slow as well. I tried to play it as relaxed as possible. I tried to make small movements, and I tried to slur more than I would have done if I was playing slow. I'm also playing it straighter when I'm playing fast. So you'll have noticed when I played slow, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But when I went to play faster, the swing was pretty much straight. I'm not swinging those quavers heavily at all. I'm pretty much playing them straight. But I am slurring. I am sort of emphasizing some of the notes a little bit more than others. The second thing, and this does all tie in with the first thing as well, is we need to make sure that we are playing stuff that we are comfortable with. So this is something that I've learned over the years, is that the stuff that comes out when we play fast is the stuff that we are the most comfortable with. The stuff that sounds good fast is the stuff that we can play the best, and the stuff that makes the most sense to us. So if you're struggling to play fast jazz at the moment, it could be because you're expecting too much from yourself. It could be that you're expecting that you should be able to improvise new music constantly at breakneck speeds. And that's just not what everybody does when they play fast. Some people maybe, but a lot of us, and I'm not just speaking for myself, and I'm not just speaking for violinists, I'm speaking for some of the best musicians I know, will say that the stuff that they come out with when they're playing fast is the stuff that is basically learned material. And now I'm not saying that people don't play creatively when they play fast. Sometimes I come away from playing solos really impressed, thinking, I've just played a bunch of stuff I never usually play. It's going to happen. The more you do it, the more that's going to happen. However, a lot of the time and a lot of the notes you're going to hear me playing when I'm playing fast is stuff that is natural to me and is stuff that I have played loads and loads of times before. For example, that little line that I used as an example is something that I play all the time. It's something that I can play to some degree in all keys, and it's something that just comes naturally. I hear it in my head, and I sort of just understand all the notes I'm playing very, very well. So the thing you might need to start doing is putting together some material that you think that you will play when you're playing fast. One thing I think is a really good idea is to try and put together a composed solo over a tune that you often have to play fast. If you're playing a bunch of Django stuff, you could do it on Django's Tiger or Hungaria or one of those tunes that are always played super fast, and basically start putting together ideas with a backing track, just throwing yourself at it, playing stuff that's natural to you, that works, and start to create a sort of composed solo that you can fall back on even when you are playing gigs. You might not play the whole thing on the gigs, but what will probably start to happen is you'll start picking little moments from it and using that as your I play fast material. It really is how it works for most jazz musicians. When you're seeing people playing that super impressive fast stuff, it's pretty much most of the time, I'd say 75% material that's learned or material that someone has played before. So to recap, I've got the technique side of things. Use more slurs. If you're not using any slurs when you're playing fast, try to use more. And then also my second answer is to learn more material and to play stuff that feels natural and simple to you. The stuff that's going to come out when you play fast is the stuff that comes naturally to you and the stuff that works for your technique. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so via Patreon, or you can get involved in my Jazz Violin Practice Club. Thanks for checking out this episode today, guys. See you again soon.